everyone, Jill Hicks here. Thanks for joining me on my YouTube page. Today's topic is how to narrow down when you're in the thick of the college gymnastics or acrobatics and tumbling recruiting search. So there's just 5 tips that I want to give you. Number 1, always make the decision based on academics first. So when you think about it, you don't want your daughter at a college that she can't graduate from with the right major. That seems like a no-brainer, right? I know it's tempting to want to have your daughter go to certain schools, or she gets excited about certain schools, but she has to be sure that her major is there. And we don't want her to ever have to transfer, because that's never fun, to have to regroup and start all over. Number 2, make sure it's financially feasible. So I'm talking to all of you at large. So if your daughter is not getting a college gymnastics or acrobatics full ride, then we want to make sure that it's financially not going to be a huge strain on you as the parent or your daughter as the athlete, meaning she might have to take out loans. Now, some families are different and have different philosophies on this, but I always like to keep that in mind. Number 3, go where your daughter, she should go where she is wanted. All right, now coaches do change and programs do evolve, but when a girl feels like she's wanted, it's almost like magical. I can just see it in her mannerisms, how excited she is to be wanted and to know that a coach is getting back to her, making her feel like she's special, like she's the only one. And I think it's really important in the recruiting process, because when you get there and you're on the team and you haven't even experienced it in the recruiting, it's probably not going to happen once she arrives on the team. So there's nothing better than knowing you are wanted on a team. Number 4, be sure your daughter asks those intentional questions that I talk about all the time, and there's a video on it on YouTube. So things like, where do you see me fitting into the lineup? How many events do you see me competing? Make sure she asks everything about being renewed, her scholarship being renewed, what it takes, what happens if it's not, academic issues that might come up. She needs to be asking all those intentional questions to make sure the college coach sees her as a viable contributor to the team, because it's never fun to be on a team and sitting on the bench or feeling like you made the wrong decision, you're not going to make their lineup. Okay, so that's what I'm really getting at with those intentional questions. And those can be hard for the girls to ask because they feel uncomfortable. They've never marketed themselves like that before, so it's really important that every school she looks at when she's narrowing down the search, that she knows pretty much how her value will be received as an athlete on that team and as a person. Okay. And number 5, this is probably the clincher of all. And usually the athlete tells me, I just felt like home. All right. So it's not always the case, but I would say over 80% of my girls, when they make their final decision or they make one decision over another, they say it felt like home. And that's how they made that final decision. There was just something like putting on an old slipper, or it just feels like this is where you're meant to be. There's something about feeling that comfortable when you step on a campus. And I've heard that over and over again. And it's just really important in general to make sure your daughter is making that final decision, even though you as a parent are guiding her, I'm sure, all the way along. We want her to take ownership so that when she gets there, she has confidence in how hard she worked to get there. And she's going to work even harder to do a really good job to contribute to the team. So those are my 5 tips for narrowing down a decision in making a college final, figuring it out at the end decision for the academics and the athletics.